So this first part of this video is going to be what Marfugal News shows us about the Airborne aircraft carrier $60 million endeavor that they're revealing. And then I've got another new addition to the Airborne aircraft carrier saga. And then I'll go back over some of the older material, which is where I obtained photographic evidence myself of what appears to be an airborne aircraft carrier or floating fortress or city in the sky through a multispectral analysis that I did by penetrating into a screenshot that was taken from a Santilly telescope, which shows with great detail these airborne aircraft carrier. With that, let's listen to what Marf says on the recent developments about this airborne aircraft carrier.
All right, Marfugal News live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and we are finally live. All right, so let's get right into it. This is a very, very weird video. Again, there's been a lot of really crazy updates lately. If you have not seen some of the stuff that we've put out over the last couple days, there was, of course, the crazy meeting with the generals, which we'll talk about over on our Marfugal TV show. But this is about this weird story which has been developing over the last year about this aircraft carrier in space, right? I also want to go over the fact that there's some pretty odd things here, things that I've never ever, even heard about or no one's really talked about, and now all of a sudden it is a thing. So first of all, I want to bring you back in time. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the Sarah Adams claim that there are potential events that are going to happen across the country with 1,000 members of some sort of group or sleeper cells in the United States and 1,000 sleeper cells in Europe that we have talked about, that around this same time, before January, late December, they were talking about. And these were major threats through open source intelligence that Sarah Adams, a former spook, apparently has said that her prediction is this year there will be this crazy event in both countries. Very well might kick things off. Now we're getting warnings in the last couple of weeks about Al-Qaeda and hospitals and all of these other things from other open source, from Middle Eastern, Pakistani resources, right? So there's lots of crazy stuff around that. Well, around that same time, that last month, there was that on the first, in fact, the first day of 2025, to kick it off, we had two major events. We had, I'm trying to remember what was the other one. I think that the guy, I think he used his vehicle as a weapon. I'm not too sure. But then, of course, this one, also vehicle as a weapon, but in a different way. This guy who supposedly rigged up his Cybertruck to go and to blow right in front of the Trump Tower. Now, if you don't remember that, there's a great video that talks about what his claims were and actually has the actual letter in it. It is on YouTube. It is actually connected to this website, which is or marfugalnews.com. In our bibliography for tonight, there is a Sabine video. If you guys have not seen her, she's a scientist woman. She essentially says that she does not believe gravitic propulsion exists, but that is exactly what this gentleman said in his letter. So I think that I have Dexter. Do we have the actual? Yes, okay, so we have the quote here. What we have been seeing with these drones is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast. But throughout history, the U.S. reads the email. This was again sent to, Sam Shoemate. This was the gentleman who blew himself up. Ended up writing this in a letter. He says, so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned AC or aircraft, they are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. It continued, they basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. Now, people made this guy up to be crazy. Some people made him up to be some sort of kind of patsy, or that they just got rid of him, that he wasn't actually driving. Some people believe that maybe he was asleep at the wheel, that somebody put him asleep, put him in the wheel, and had it self-drive to the tower. And it was very strange. It went off at Trump, Trump Tower. The whole thing was absolutely weird. It was how we kicked off our freaking year. But with this being said, this was, again, something that really nobody's really heard of. Like, I remember so many people saying gravitic propulsion, right? Gravitics. Well, there's something that really caught my eye, especially with a developing story that we've actually covered before. We've talked about this over the last year, about the potential and the contracts going out for aircraft carriers in space, right? And these might not necessarily be, satellite stuff. So I'm going to go over that here in just 1 second. I do want to remind you guys, we are completely independent. Make sure to go over to marfugalnews.com/EMP. Go check Marf. Hello. It is very marfugalnews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. It also protects you against a carrying level event from the sun. Remember that. All right. Let's bring my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugal fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, okay, so first of all, and this could be a reach, but it is very, very strange that this was all talk about these carriers, right? And with the time that Livelsberger, this guy that did this, the time that he did this explosion and the time that this manifesto came out, there was the whole news story that Iran was potentially had a mothership off the East Coast, or a mothership that was having drones come off of it. If you remember, that was the same exact time as this, right around the first, and in those 2 weeks, there was all of this talk, and everybody was freaking out saying a mothership. People were talking about UFOs, but they were correcting. They're like, no, the mothership doesn't even have to be a boat. It could be an actual aircraft that releases other aircraft. We've talked about this most recently with that China has now a drone, a huge like strato tanker type size drone that can actually release 100 smaller drones on either side, and then those will go and do their targets. And even some of those will release even smaller drones when they get to their target. So this is like really freaky stuff that was happening back then. And then this guy puts out this manifesto that basically says, hey, all of this stuff is gravitic propulsion. Remember that. Dex, did you read this thing I sent you about the aircraft carriers? And we've covered this. You probably already know all about it. The aircraft carrier in space.
Well, yeah, so they've got this notion that they're going to spend $60 million to build an orbital platform, aircraft carrier, if you want to call it that, in space, and it's coming from the Pentagon.
Yeah, and again, this is with a company called Gravitics, right? That gravitic word, the Gravitics, in partnership with the U.S. Space Force. And this thing is supposedly going to have a non-pressurized field inside, or a non-pressurized area that it would have satellites, and it would be able to launch satellites in space. So if you think about it this way, you have a Russian satellite that goes and takes out one of our other satellites. You have either an attack satellite go and attack that satellite, and it's deployed from in there, that it cannot be affected by EMP. Again, this is another thing. They are saying that this would be a huge move if you were worried about EMP. Also, if you had one of your really, really important satellites taken care of, you could even have robotics making replacement satellites in space, and you would not have to launch from Earth. So think about that. If you could have the material sent up in bulk to this big platform, you could then have satellites made in space and then deployed without ever launching a rocket. That's at least what they're saying. I know that there's not everybody's on the same page about the belief about what's going on above us, but I think it's awfully weird that this is much like what we've been hearing about over the last year about something that actually deploys these craft, right? And or satellites. They're saying satellites. What if this thing is actually a contract and just the design fee for something to match China, or to match one of the technologies we've been hearing about, like this mothership that Iran supposedly had? Again, that Iran not designed, but possibly got even from another adversary, or from an ally. So this is really weird stuff. We've I didn't hear about Gravitic anything before this guy in the beginning of the year. Now we have a company called Gravitics in about the same year period that is now building this aircraft carrier in space, or that's doing the designs for it. I think it's awfully, awfully weird. And the general kind of purpose of this thing as a aircraft carrier in space. It says Gravitics, in partnership with the U.S. Space Force, is spearheading a groundbreaking $60 million project to create an orbital aircraft carrier. This innovative platform is poised to transform the way that satellites are launched and deployed. By enabling the direct launch of satellites from Earth orbit, an initiative promises a faster and more agile response to national security threats. This approach eliminates traditional dependence on rocket launches, providing a substantial strategic advantage for military operations. It says the orbital carrier is designed to align with the U.S. military's interest in maintaining a robust presence in space, particularly as the threat of space arms race looms. It says by having a pre-positioned platform in orbit, the United States can deploy satellites quickly and efficiently, addressing immediate and future security concerns. This advancement in space technology underscores the nation's commitment to maintaining leadership in this critical area. Now, I also want to point out that China has been building a platform in space, and those 3 massive rockets that went up, and if you remember this, the parts of them came down, and they were so big, they didn't have a plan on how they were actually going to come back down. They didn't have rockets that stopped them or slowed them. They came down and rotated around the Earth, and everybody was freaking out because if they hit New York, it would have caused a disaster. Those 3 were launching what it was 3 huge parts to the space station. They were massive, giant rockets. I believe almost as big as the BFR, or bigger, as the big friggin' rocket that Elon has, right? Starship. So we know that they also had plans for a 5-mile-long platform in space, and we don't know what's actually up there right now, and we don't know what they have already done. They are the kings of production, and they can make things extremely fast. And with the very, very suspicious launches that they've been doing over the last year, it makes you wonder if this is actually in response to something that we don't have and somebody else does. So very frequent. We're going to continue to talk about this, and we'll update you on this orbital aircraft carrier. Again, I would keep your eyes out, because all of these things, there might be propaganda around gravitic this, gravitic that. Highly recommend you watch that scientist video. She seems so sure that, you know, that there's never going to be new physics, or at least not in our lifetimes. I actually disagree with her on a lot about that, but she does do a great job of explaining more of the technical side of it. That is on our link on marfugalnews.com. Go check it out right down below. Or again, you can go to marfugalnews.com, go to the channel Marfugal News, and then go click on it. Please share this out if you appreciate our content. We would really...
Sky City Mass Deception from K. Podgy. I say Podgy. I don't know if it's Podge or Podgy. You tell me.
A possibility that we see a false New Jerusalem descending. So I'm sure by now we've all seen the construction in the clouds and the mirages that science gives us 1,000,001 explanations for. Lots of people see people figures in the clouds. I've seen them as well.
Somebody is walking on the motherfucking clouds. Something is walking on the clouds. What is that? It's a body. Look, it showed it. That's a person.
So can we talk about the book of Joshua and how he had to go up to the city of Ai?
Before we deep dive this wild deception, the most important thing for everybody to know is that Jesus Christ is the only truth, the only life, and the only way to heaven. There is no possibility that anybody goes to heaven without repenting and believing in his sacrifice on the cross. Because he lives, we get to find him. If you have not already, he loves you.
Ai. And the language throughout this story, very interesting. 3,000 men went up there from the people. Up there. The first thing that I think of when I read this is how every time God calls somebody up to the heavens through the sky, he says, come up here. And they basically indirectly tell you that these were armies of Nephilim, that they were going up to spy out and possibly fight. So if my read on this story is correct, it perfectly matches all of the mythologies about floating sky cities of the gods that come around every so many years. Side note, only Christianity is true. I say mythologies because I believe that these are all the same stories, sometimes just told by like a fallen angel perspective or a different culture's perspective, so it's not correct in terms of God's word. But if the concept is there, it seems to me as if everybody saw something. It's just up to the person's interpretation to write down what they believed it was. So then Joshua tore his clothes and fell to the earth. He fell to the earth? I'm sorry, but if I like tripped and fell, would anybody say that I fell to the earth? So in my opinion, Jesus says quite a few things that seem to be kind of coded warnings about this sky city for those that have ears to hear. And remember, this is my opinion, my interpretation. You're free to agree or disagree. I'm just going to show you. So the Greek word for city is polis, like Polaris. It's a feminine noun, like the Shekinah cloud. It means to dwell or to live in a place, almost the exact same as the tabernacle. And the glory cloud fills the tabernacle. Polaris, I believe, is the true New Jerusalem. It's also the star at the center of the firmament that has never moved. It is the brightest star in the sky. I don't care what NASA tries to tell you. So here's just a few of the times that Jesus gives warnings like these ones. They seem very odd outside of this context, at least as far as I can see. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house.
A lot of us are familiar with the 1500s Mercator map for the flat earth map. You can see the North Pole going down to what we refer to as the Black Rock. So if we think about this as the center point of the firmament and that the pole goes straight up through it, and that Polaris sits on top of the pole, this is why a lot of people, including myself, believe that the true Jerusalem is at the North Pole. I do not think that this is a crazy idea at all. Medieval maps and medieval Christians didn't think that was a crazy idea either, because look at what's at the center. Very, very interesting, to say the least.
And he said to them, is a lamp brought in to be put under a basket or under a bed and not on a stand, the North Pole? For nothing is hidden except to be made manifest, nor is anything secret except to come to light. The ancient Sukkot, or Feast of Tabernacles festival. This is a ritual they would do where they would climb to the top of a large pole or a stand and put a light on the top. The Feast of Tabernacles, God's tabernacle, the North Pole, the light of the world, a city that cannot be hidden. They cannot put it under a basket or a lattice, which would be the firmament. And this is also why I believe Polaris, the pole star, is God's tabernacle. No one, after lighting a lamp, covers it with a jar or puts it under a bed, but puts it on a stand, the North Pole, so that those who enter may see the light. We go back to the mountain or the city of God when we die. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Seems like he's warning of a secret city that might mimic God's city, to me at least. I think that they are going to follow this scripture to copy it. Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb. He carried me away in the spirit to a great high mountain and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, its radiance like a most rare jewel, etc., etc. Please read the entire Bible, guys. I'm just showing you little snippets. So like I said, the New Jerusalem, the real Jerusalem, like the one from above, like Paul says, the heavenly one, not the earthly one that's equivalent to Hagar, in my mind is kind of equated to the tabernacle with the Shekinah cloud, and that would be the North Star with the northern lights emanating around it. In my antique Bible, that verse from Revelation 21 actually says, God's tabernacle will come down. Here's just a few articles. If you Google this or something like this, you'll find many, many more. The possibility of the colonization of Venus put forward by NASA. The amazing cloud cities we could build on Venus. OceanGate co-founder wants to send you to a floating city in Venus by 2050. And if you forgot what OceanGate is, it's the company that psyoped us a couple years back for no reason. They sent a submarine or submersible that was apparently full of billionaires that apparently imploded. It ruled the news cycles for months. So this is the webpage for Virgin Galactic. It is a space tourism company that's just getting on its feet, ran by Virgin Voyages. This is the loading page. It's a woman with wings, just like the woman in Revelation 12. And I know I've been going on and on about this, but I truly believe that we are unraveling this deception. Also, side note, the Catholic version of Mary, a lot of the Marian art, it's her standing in a cloud saying, "Fly to me," to like the people standing below. My grandma had a lot of my old stuff from when I was Catholic growing up, and it's very much pointing to Satan appearing as an angel of light. You'll notice a lot of the images have her in clouds. Yet up in the air, they connect, like they're like space docks. And they are trying to make space flight for the average person as accessible as possible with the goal of eventually making it free. And you may ask, what are they wanting to go see? Virgin Galactic's Atlas viewing flights provide a remarkable opportunity for space enthusiasts to witness the interstellar comet 3I Atlas up close. The flights aim to capitalize on the growing interest in interstellar comet tourism, offering a thrilling and educational experience for participants. I personally believe this is exactly what they were doing with these Blue Origin flights. Look at any of the people that come back. They act like they're drunk and they talk about how in love they are and how they just feel peace and love.
I feel super connected to love. So connected to love. I think this experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give, and how loved you are until the day you launch.
What you have given me is the most profound experience I can have. I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. I just extraordinary.
Chill,
Yeah,
bro.
take a good look at Revelation 17, guys. So remember, this is a classic depiction of what these mythological sky cities would look like. And a lot of the official space YouTubes feature this thumbnail for videos about 3I Atlas. Remember how Paul says that Jerusalem above is our mother because she's free? She's Sarah, like from Abraham and Sarah. And when we're born again, we're born of the Spirit. And that Hagar, the Egyptian slave woman, is the Jerusalem on earth because she's a slave. She is the mother of the flesh, also known as the harlot, who constantly tries to impersonate the Holy Spirit, because they are two feminine aspects. This isn't like New Age or anything like that. I'm getting this from my antique Bible. If anyone wants me to go over it from that Bible, I will. But even the standard Bibles we have today make it very clear. Wisdom is referred to with feminine pronouns, and the dove is always feminine, and things like that. It doesn't mean that God is a woman. It's like an abstract concept, like we don't fully understand because our minds are limited. So basically,
All right, I'll go and stop there. I think she moves.
So now we're going to watch a video 6 minutes long that I made over a year ago where Mr. MB3 is revealing these airborne aircraft carriers to you under the name of Solar Warden, and he even gives a very specific length, like they're 938 feet long and that there's 8 of them orbiting the planet. And I give an introduction to the part that we'll go out over next, which is my own personal photographic images of these airborne aircraft carriers, floating fortresses, or cities in the sky. So I'm just going to show you a 1 or 2 minute clip from a recent live stream Mr. MB3 did where he appears to show another one of these airborne aircraft carrier type ships that were featured in a video that I put out a few days ago, and where you can see this one compared to the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, and it's part of an operation called Solar Warden.
And this is one of them that was sent in this morning. So if you were on this morning's live, we opened this one up live this morning right on TikTok. So this is what was sent in by Allison out of Seven Hills, Ohio. She saw this over in Myrtle Beach. Check this out. You're going to see something over here. Watch over here on the left-hand side of the screen. Check it out. Here we go. Something shows up. I believe this was at 3:44 in the morning, almost 3:45. Something showed up, and you're going to see 2. It's not. This isn't an airplane or a helicopter, or at least it doesn't look like it. Some sort of a mysterious dual light object. Maybe it's 2 separate lights, but they're traveling at the same speed. They're coming into the field of view right now. We opened this one up this morning during the live, and as promised, I said I would need some time to work on it, to zoom in and see what was going on here. And it is mysterious. There's something going on here that there definitely doesn't appear to be an airplane there. What was that thing? It's not an airplane. It's way too wide to be an airplane. And there's no airplane there. And it's not 2 airplanes. They're flying way too close together. Too fast to be helicopters. Something weird flying over Myrtle Beach. And that was, I believe, this morning or yesterday morning. Yeah, yesterday morning at 3:44 a.m. That was on the 6th. 3:44 a.m. out of Myrtle Beach, South.
So in this video that I put out the other day titled Solar Warden Space Fleet, Elysium, Sky Dome, Atlantis, Mr. MB3 shows 8 different versions of what appears to be those same lights cruising through the sky. And he's shown plenty of these cigar-shaped craft cruising through the daytime sky. So there's a good chance that that's what we're seeing there. And in this video, I covered some of these things that I pulled out of a Santilly telescope, which is just one of these things. Showing you that he made his own Santilly telescope. Santilly telescope, KC Kid. And then he makes another video showing you some still frames that are from this video. And what did I pull out of those Santilly's telescope still frames? Shit like this. Like it's an X-ray peering through the airborne aircraft carrier. And somehow, using multispectral analysis, I was able to extract these images of what appears to be aircraft upon the airborne aircraft carrier. That's just one. You can go back. It was only about a week ago that I made this. But it looks like Mr. MB3 just gave us another version of that same Solar Warden ship. And someone told me the other day, they're like, how is that not just compression? Some sort of compression, artifact of compression. That's just another way of saying lens flare or pixels in a fancy way. And this type of repetition does not occur from compression or lens flares or pixels. Just compression. So these right here, I have other images where that's a triangle craft with 3 fins on the back, just like the ones you saw a minute ago, that all have a rectangle in alignment with them. These are all triangular craft with 3 fins on the back. I have greater clarity images of them. You'll see that here in a moment. Some sort of compression, artifact of compression. That's just another way of saying lens flare or pixels in a fancy way. And this type of repetition does not occur from compression or lens flares or pixels. And though they may look just kind of sort of triangle-ish, like a triangle-shaped craft, from clear up here, I zoom in, like these 3 over here, even further. Again, those 3 that are right here, I have more images of those. Those are also triangles with 3 fins on the back. Likewise with this one over here, and they're scattered all about these images that have machinery and symmetry. This is the city in the sky floating fortress airborne aircraft carrier that eventually will become part of everyone else's life experience. Until then, it's like Miyagi-Do dojo training. Daniel's son thought he was just waxing the cars and painting the fence until he found himself in the environmental circumstances where he was able to apply all of that muscle memory, those responses that he had developed throughout the training. This stuff doesn't apply to your life, but when the environmental circumstances change in such a way, you'll have received the inoculum, a small dose, so that when you get the full exposure, it doesn't send you into shock. Each one of these triangle-shaped craft has 3 fins hanging off the backside. That one may or may not have been a good example. Maybe like right there. If I unzoom it. All of them are identical, with 3 fins on one side of the triangle-shaped craft. And Mr. MB3 here gives 8 or 10 different examples of these in one video. He's trying to show you something. He's not guessing. He knows a little something more than what he says. He's involved in soft disclosure. Disclosure through exposure.
I think it was this thing here. That's not an airplane. There's no way that's an airplane. Look at that thing.
It's a Solar Warden.
What is that?
An airborne aircraft carrier.
Right, at this particular time.
Another one.
Maybe it's because of the angle of the light.
And on board those airborne aircraft carrier are craft that look a lot like things we've already seen. Like those. Are you ready for the big ride, baby? Here's some camouflage and concealment technology that may be used in concealing these airborne aircraft carrier.
Let's check it out. This is pretty cool technology. Look at this. But you know, I've seen other examples of this stuff as well. That's a screen he's standing behind. You can see it totally hides him. But just imagine a suit made out of that kind of material. you know. Then it's going to the side, and there it is. Yeah, this is a good example of it too. It'd be kind of cool to have something like that. Look at that. It's incredible. Wow.
So now we're going to go over some of this video titled Solar Warden Space Fleet, Elysium, Sky Dome, Atlantis, where I show these images and explain how I came about being in possession of these images. But from this point forward, you should just click the link in the description titled Solar Warden Space Fleet, Elysium, Sky Dome, Atlantis, and watch it in vertical video format, because that's the format that it's in, because the original images, screenshots that I took were in vertical format. It was early on in my YouTube days. I still hadn't figured out to just say no to vertical video. Having said that, I'm going to do what I can to zoom in, even though it's in horizontal. But if you want the full screen effect, watch it in vertical. Click the link in the description. And so I'm going to try to quickly explain and show to you why I believe that there are airborne aircraft carriers. This is a video made by Casey Kid 913 4 years ago, using a homemade Santilly telescope. And you can see he's just hanging it out his car window. You can see his mirror. He's hanging it out as the door of probably his Cadillac S. Going to this. And notice this video has 214 views and he has 55 subscribers. How did I even come across this channel? I ended up going to this guy's house in Missouri. This guy's house. Well, that's another story. That Santilly telescope he's using is just a magnifying beautification mirror that magnifies 4 or 5 times, and a half dome magnification lens. You can get the glass dome magnifier at Staples at any office supply store. You can get the mirror that's a magnifying mirror at probably Walmart or any beauty store that sells makeup and stuff. You put the two together and bam, it's called a Santilly telescope, and that's also called the Truth Bringer. And it only came out in like 2015. This was introduced to the public. And they say, oh no, Santilly's been debunked and all this other shit. But I'm going to show you why I believe in an airborne aircraft carrier. So this is his video. It's just a couple minutes long. Sun simulator, cloud simulator, contrail simulator, where he's showing you that he made his own Santilly telescope. Very cheap, very rudimentary. And then he makes another video showing you some still frames that are from this video. I forgot to show you that it gives the Jeff Snyder 2 channel a shout out in the description. In this video that's titled very similarly, he just takes screenshots from the video that we just watched and zooms into them. And this right here is the very image that I zoomed into. You can see that he takes some different screenshots from his own video and slows it down and freeze frames it. And that's what he does in this video. But let's rewind it back to the first. This image is the one that I zoomed into in order to extract what I believe is an airborne aircraft carrier. Here you can see that image, and I'll draw your attention to a couple of things. We'll call this the high volt tether, and we'll assume for a minute that this is the sun. And between the sun and the high volt tether is where I took most of my airborne aircraft carrier images from. And you'll be able to see, particularly the high volt tether, in some of the images. And the sun to the upper right, the high volt tether to the lower left. Like this, for instance, you can see the high volt tether to the lower left and the sun to the upper right, but I've added a bunch of contrast, and so you can start to see what looks like a bunch of machinery And look for all the symmetry. This piece is very similar to this piece. Notice the little ridges along the side here and the straight line that goes down through the middle. Same thing over here on this one with all the little ridges along the side. That type of symmetry, that type of detail, pixels don't just arrange themselves in these patterns. Symmetry of detail, pixels don't just Notice another one of these triangular craft, they're all over the place. And when you start to see them all being lined up in formations, all with these little runway looking patterns beside them being rectangles or long strips, there's no way that that's just lossy compression or pixelation or lens flares. This is machinery that's in the sky above our heads. Arrange themselves in these patterns. Here's another version of that same picture, zoomed in a little closer with the contrast adjusted differently to where this thing that looks like a drive shaft or something is now yellow and the support that it's within is like blue. And these little things here are pink because I've adjusted the color and the contrast, lighting, shade, etc. But what really convinces me is all of these triangle craft that appear. One, two, three. And you notice the symmetry of what appears to be like docking stations. Right here, here, and here. Here's some more symmetry with these ridges down here. It looks like machinery. I'll explain to you. I think this is done through X-ray. The plasma created a type of X-ray that penetrates through the craft, and by adjusting the lighting and contrast, I was able to extract images of the airborne aircraft carriers. Or floating fortress, city in the sky, New Jerusalem, Sky Dome, Atlantis, call it what you want. So here's another example of an image that I pulled from, run the contrast from that one screenshot from Casey Kidd's video using that Santilly telescope. So here you have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another image where there's actually 5 or 6 of these triangles directly in alignment with the strip to the left of them. In this same image, you have 3 of them lined up here in formation. 3 of these triangle craft. And behind each one of the triangle craft is this little dot. This is intelligent design. Here's another one of the triangle craft over here. This is not pixelation or lens flares or compression or an artifact of the camera. This is what's in the sky above our heads. Watch the full video in vertical video format for better visual viewing abilities. So, you have these 3 triangle craft over here, a stray one over here, and then each one of these, 1 at the end of a runway, 2 at the end of a runway, 3 at the end of a runway, 4 at the end of what appears to be a runway, and this type of machinery looking stuff all through it. Here, more symmetry. Behind each one of these little triangular craft, and you'll see those a little closer here in a minute, you got the little pink dot here, here, and here. You got what looks to be some sort of like a blueprint layout for a building. You got the little pink dot here, here, and here. You got what looks to be some sort of like a blueprint layout for a building. Pixels don't just arrange themselves naturally in these types of patterns. there's a bunch of them, just like these three, where you can see, let me get that. Damn it, I didn't have the microphone going on. My point was, these are the same three craft we looked at a minute ago, where I showed you that there's the symmetry of the little nook in the bottom corner, and that each one had a little dot behind it. These are those same three craft, just zoomed in further and added a different color contrast adjustment. There. The ridges, at the back. The ridges at the back of each one of these triangles looks just like our stealth bombers. Here you've got 6 of them lined up, and again, they're very near to those triangular, rectangular runway type thing right next to it. And this actually might be an image I've never shown before. But notice how they're all identical. 6 of them. Okay, I don't know if it was recording, I think it was, but you got 6 of them identical here. They have 4 little runways by them, the rectangular object above them, the symmetry, the rectangular object is direct. Notice also that in each one of these little rectangular runways that are directly in alignment with the triangular craft, there's an extra line that runs right there. And on this one, it's got the same line that runs right there. That type of symmetry cannot be dismissed as pixels or lens flares. At this point, if you don't acknowledge that what we're looking at is a reality of machinery in the sky above our heads that I acquired from a very rudimentary device called a santilly telescope, 2 magnifying glasses put together, then denial. That's the solution, denial. A person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still, but one day this will become part of everyone's life experience. This one, this one, this one, and this one. This type of symmetry doesn't just happen naturally. It's not lens flares, it's not pixels. This is something that's up in the sky above our heads, like Elysium. Like Louis Farrakhan says, there's a giant mothership hovering above the earth. Maybe Screwy Louie ain't so screwy, is he? Again, notice the symmetry. I'll include links in the description. Well, actually, I think I'm not going to do. Now let's check out some of the birds that we know. It's a SR-72, maybe, what is it? This one's a B-2 stealth bomber. Look familiar? This is where we zoomed in to get all those images. Recently, I tried doing it again. Zooming in, running some contrast. There's the high volt tether to the bottom left and the sun on the upper right. I was not able to pull those same images. A little bit of symmetry, but certainly not the type of images that we just looked at. That's another Story we're going to have to go over pretty soon. But now you might understand a little bit better what I mean when I say airborne aircraft carrier, city in the sky, floating fortress, Elysium, like in the movie Jupiter Ascending. Because I extracted all of those images from this image. Nowhere else in KC Kid's video did I run the contrast and zoom in. But this airborne aircraft carrier reveal proves that the process works to reveal that which is in the sky above our heads. And then, as I'm going through my images, I think there's a couple we missed. I just wanted to show you the best first. There's some more symmetry, making it look like a blueprint for a building. And I don't think I showed you this. This also came from within those same images. Oops, Christ, did it again. Parts 1, 2, and 3 will be linked in the description. When I first came across these images, I was printing them out onto paper.
What I'm talking about here in just a second. In fact, we'll get to it right now, but I want to talk about the sun. There's a little bit of activity going on with the sun, but with regard to the banner. Hey, what's up, guys? Last one, the Awakened. I got this thing here off to the side. Let me get it over where I can read it. There we go. What's up, Bobby Adams? PayPal me, last one. Beans and Frank. Kim Klein, Goyo Castano. What's going on, guys? Let me explain the banner. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got a monitor back there where I keep the comments and the work, the things that I want to share with you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 9 videos, different videos, actually 10 to share with you guys. A lot of the videos could contain what you're seeing right here. And this could be a still image from one of those videos of this monster craft that I think, and this was sent to me about 2 years ago. And it's called, there's a name for this thing. It actually has a name. It's over 990 feet long. It's called the Solar Warden. This thing has a name. From what I understand, this is like hypothetical, but this thing is as big as a battleship. And it supposedly flies around the Earth. So you people that are seeing these lights up in the sky, no, you're not crazy. You're seeing something. And right here could be proof. And I have at least 4 videos that may contain this thing right here. And we'll get to that in this video. Yeah. A 991 foot long craft that may have been spotted multiple times from the ground and one time from the International Space Station. Yeah, I think it's a 991 foot long craft that may have been spotted multiple times from the ground and one time from the International Space Station. Yeah, I think it resembles this thing. Oh, and one from an airplane. Actually, 2 from an airplane, but I shared that video with you guys from Costa Rica a couple days ago, but I have a new one to share with you guys. I want to say hi to this person here, Aaron Estrada, driving down the highway, August 24th, 2022 at 9:30 p.m. Here we go. Took this video driving down the road. Don't those lights look similar to this right here? Check it out. This is a pretty good video. Here we go. Had to turn it down because it had the radio playing in the background. So I turned the volume down. But anyway, they're driving down the highway. He's focused on this in the sky. It's not on the ground. It's not a tower. It's not an airplane. It's not a helicopter. There's some sort of a mysterious light that was just kind of hanging out off in the distance. And if I'm not mistaken, he pulled his car over to take a video of this thing. Tracy, Art Darnell. Is that Art Darnell? That is Art Darnell. Art, you were 10? I think I was 2. Something like that, 2.5. Okay, check it out. Here it is. Get a little closer. I think they pulled the car over to get a little closer view of this thing, right? Clearly in the sky. I'm waiting to hear back from Aaron on where he saw this. You can see it's starting to tilt a little bit, right? It's tilting a little bit, not making any noise. Lights weren't blinking. They remained the same color. Videos kind of, look at here, they got a little different perspective, got a little closer somehow, but it's the same object. Now that, as you're going to see when they zoom in, let me go back, right? That's what inspired me to make the banner, that. That's in the sky. That. What? He saw that driving down the road. You can't make this stuff up. I think it was this thing here. That's not an airplane. There's no way that's an airplane. Look at that thing. What is that? Those lights are incredibly bright at this particular time. And maybe it's because of the angle of the light. They're focused right on Aaron as he's driving down the highway, Wayne. But I'm not 100% sure. I was not there. But I think this could have been another sighting of this massive ship that there's 8 of that orbit the Earth or do something up there. This was a really cool video.
So he just said that there's 8 of them orbiting the Earth. But he also says it's just hypothetical that these even exist. And they're very specific about it being 491 feet long for it to be a hypothetical. I misquoted him when I said 491 foot long. He says 991 foot long craft that there's 8 of.
Yeah, I think it's a 991 foot long craft that may have been spotted multiple times from the ground and one time from the International Space Station. I'm not 100% sure, I was not there, but I think this could have been another sighting of this massive ship that there's 8 of that orbit the Earth or do something up there. This was a really cool video.
So he just said that there's 8 of them orbiting the Earth. But he also says it's just hypothetical that these even exist. And they're very specific about it being 491 feet long for it to be a hypothetical. I believe I've seen 2 of these on 2 separate occasions, except the lights were not orange colored. They were the same colors as the stars in the sky. And I'll explain more about those at the time. But they were 2 lights about the distance. Since I made this video over a year ago, rack it up to 3 times that I've seen this same phenomenon of 2 lights in the sky equally 10 times brighter than any star that dim out simultaneously. Of a cigarette held at arm's length, the width of your fingers, as far as you can spread them, at arm's length in the sky, both about 10 times brighter than all the other stars around them, and they dimmed out to where they disappeared one time, and on another time, they were brighter than all the other stars around them, and then they both dimmed simultaneously to a point where they were only as bright as the dimmest stars in the sky, and then they stayed there. And I went back and saw them night after night after night. This was last summer. And every night, they were dim, like the most dimly lit stars in the sky on a scale of 1 to 10. They were a 1 or 2. And when I first look over at them, I see them shining brighter than all the other stars. Like on the other scale of 1 to 10, the brightest star in the sky is a 10. These were shining at a 20. And then simultaneously dim down to a 1 or 2 and remain there. Every night that I would go on my walk, which is every night, I would look in the sky in the same spot, and there's those 2 stars again. And I saw them there for weeks on end until, the year moved on, stars shift in the sky, and I no longer looked in that area anymore, so I can tell you where they are now. I'll leave the link in the description so you can watch this in full view rather than vertical video format, which is what I had to record this video in. And as far as these airborne aircraft carrier go, because I shot this video in vertical, which I had to, I'd like to be able to turn it sideways. That way you can actually read the writing here. But we can't. So what we can do is notice its size comparison compared to the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier or the fighter jet beneath it, and acknowledge, 1, Mr. MB3 has shown white cylinders cruising through the sky probably 15 times in the last year, and we've seen many different craft that appear to have anti-gravitational technology built in, make no sound, they are not aerodynamic, they do not maintain motion through the sky, they hover. The UAP Dragons that are featured every day. He's got 6,000 videos, and in each video there's 4 or 5 different examples of these black dot craft, these UAP Dragons, these little tiny craft that appear a few inches large, zipping through the screen on all those videos produced by custodian files. I have video of them floating above my head in a video titled Plasma-Powered Thunderbird Source Video. I've gone over it plenty of times. So this anti-gravitational technology that's being demonstrated in these little black dot craft that are floating stationary in the sky above my head, or doing about 2,000 miles an hour in all of the custodian file videos, and I can't leave out Deadeye Customs. He's got thousands and thousands of examples of them also, but I think his are still frames from, so you can't tell if they're moving or if they were stationary. Point is, this anti-gravitational technology can be scaled up or scaled down. Scaled down to the size of the little UAP Dragons that are flying as fast as a bullet, or scaled up to the size of an airborne aircraft carrier or larger. In the movie 2012, they had their Noah's Ark plan. You know, like Russia is enacting something like their Noah's Ark plan. That's what they call it, specifically like Operation Noah Ark or whatever. In the movie 2012, they had these high-tech spaceships they took off in right before the cataclysm, and everyone who thought they got a ticket to ride didn't actually have a ticket to ride. A lot more people were promised a ticket to ride than actually received such an invitation. Come on, baby, take a chance with us and meet me at the back of... Don't delay, act now, supplies are running out. Allow if you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive. And if you follow, there may be a tomorrow, but if the offer's shunned, you might as well be walking on the sun. But 6 to 8 years, apparently, maybe it's only 2 years. 2 years ain't forever. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and spare you the rest of my singing at 1.5 speed and just tell you can click the link Solar Warden Space Fleet, Elysium, Skydome, Atlantis to see all of those images in full screen format by turning your phone vertically and hear the rest of my serenade.
Sail, this is how I show my love. This is how an angel cries. I blame it on my own sick pride. Sail with me into the dark. Sail with me into the dark. Or a lot of people gonna be singing, maybe I should cry for help. Maybe I should kill myself. Blame it on my ADD, baby. Maybe I'm a different breed. Maybe I'm not listening. Just blame it on your ADD, baby. Cause we're leaving all the haters behind before the sun decides to hide. I know you think I may be out of line. I'm scared to love what we love most. I say you kill your heroes and fly, fly, baby, don't cry. And don't you worry, cause everybody will die. And every day you just go, go, baby, don't go. And don't you worry, we love you more than you know. Cause it won't matter. So don't delay, act now, supplies are running out. Allow if you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive. And if you follow, there may be a tomorrow. But if the offer's shunned, you might as well be walking on the sun.